Every site I have ever been to, every site has the same story. Whether you're in Gilgal Raphaim, whether you're in Israel, whether you're in Menga, Spain, whether you're in Karnak, France, Stonehenge, England, Silbury Hill, Avebury in England. I mean, all that all the way down to Peru, the 5,000-year-old pyramids at Corral, Peru, Sacsayhuaman in Cusco, Teotihuacan in Mexico, Chaco Canyon, the mysterious America Stonehenge, and all the earthworks. So I've been to all those places I just mentioned. They all have the same underlying theme. Everyone just vanishes.
This broadcast is for entertainment purposes only. Thank you for watching Now You See TV.
All right, so welcome to the show, L.A. Marzulli. It's an honor to have you. And for those of you that don't know who L.A. is, he is actually on our channel, the top five, one of the top five videos, I think the fifth top most popular video. And we were talking 8 years ago about the red-haired giants. And I don't know that we've talked any time in between that or not, but we've crossed paths. And I'm excited to bring this collaboration together. This is going to be really cool. LA is one of the grandfathered in truthers that go way back before me. I mean, I'm 42 years old, and I was listening to LA Marzulli and people like that while I was doing Tool and Die. So this is really cool to have him back on. It kind of is a nostalgic moment for me, but I wanted to welcome you back. Hello, LA. How are you, man?
I'm doing good. Great to be here, John. Thanks for having me back on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm excited to actually talk to you and ask you, a few things. I know that last time we talked, I think we were talking about the red-haired giants. You've produced, if I'm right, correct me if I'm wrong, 10 documentaries series. Is that correct? How many, or am I wrong on that?
Well, the Watcher series with my late business partner, Richard Shaw, we did 11 films there. Then Rick passed away. I did 2 films on the Fatima apparitions, which raised a lot of eyebrows and ruffled some feathers. Then there's 8 films on the trail of the Nephilim, where we travel all over the world showing that there's a hidden history that's been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world. Then my new business partner, Gil Zimmerman, and I did 10 films on the UFO phenomena. That is a Kumburgaz UFO right there. There it is. Wow. So I'm not making this stuff up. That's the best UFO video that I've ever seen. And my late Dr. Roger Lear shot that on Lake Kumburgaz in Turkey years ago. Richard Shaw, my late business partner, passed away. We had the original footage, and Rick went through it frame by frame and saw this other being, entity, popping in and out of the frames. And we talk about that in Watchers 10. So, there's like basically 34 films. The newest film is on the Shroud of Turin. This is what the Shroud of Turin looks like from a naked eye, but when you take a photograph, you see that it's a positive image. So this is a negative image. And in 1898, Secondo Pia took the first pictures of it, and he was astonished by what he saw. You can see how brutal the scourging was. It's all over his body. They whipped him to within an inch of his life. And that's the headshot blown up. You can see the helmet of thorns. Part of his beard is ripped out. It's a man in repose. And we have a film on that where we link the Shroud of Turin to the Sudarium of Oviedo. That's a headcloth that's been in Oviedo, Spain since the 7th century. And there's 140 points of congruency between the Sudarium of Oviedo and the Shroud of Turin. So that blows the whole carbon-14 dating out. They're both the same blood type, AB, 140 points of congruency. And then we take all that and we tie it back into this phenomenon that's been going on for essentially 1,700 years in Jerusalem at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, the Holy Fire. And we delve into that. So it's amazing how we in the West have never heard of the Holy Fire. And yet the Greek Orthodox and others have been celebrating and watching this, and including Muslims for centuries. So it's all coming out. And the newest film will be On the Trail of a Nephilim #9. We're not sure. We don't have a title, but we're in post-production on that.
Interesting. And I want to hone in on a couple of things here later in the broadcast. One being what is your take on all of the phenomenon that we've been seeing through Skinwalker Ranch and also just on the mainstream media? We see it. We see government broadcasts where they're talking about these things. But before I do that, I would really want to know, and I never got a chance to ask you this, and I just always wanted to, but what in the world got you on this track to where you have been dedicating your life to making films that expose these cryptid type creatures in the Bible, that they're actually in the Bible? What is it that drives you to do that? Because I'm really super interested in that, man, because I've never seen too many people like yourself, and I've interviewed a lot of people. I've been doing it since about 2010, which isn't that long in comparison to some people, but it's long enough to know someone who's dedicated towards doing these things, and I know that you are, and so I really would love to hear your answer on that.
Well, it's without getting long and involved, here's the Cliff Notes version of this thing. So before I became a Christian, which is 45 years ago, I was immersed in the New Age, all things occult. My third eye was open. I was with a guru for 3 years. I had spirit guides. I did psychotropic drugs to catapult me into an altered state of consciousness. I was at Woodstock. Unlike our President Clinton, I inhaled as deeply and as often as I possibly could. The Lord took all that 45 years ago, and we have never, strayed back into that. When I became a Christian, the Lord took me out of the kingdom of darkness. They didn't want to see me leave. It was a battle for 3 years. And then for the first 10 years, from age 30 to 40, all I did was attend church. I became a worship leader because I'm a lifelong musician. And I became a worship leader. If the church was open, I was there, reading the Bible cover to cover to cover to cover to cover over and over and over again. I got married. We had 2 children. And then at 40 years old, the Lord said, hey, remember what you used to do? Yeah, well, we're going to go back into that. And that began everything. And that first book that was published by Zondervan was on the UFO phenomena. It was a novel. And so Dr. Thomas's book, The Omega Conspiracy, opened up the pages of the biblical prophetic narrative in ways that I had never seen before, because he talks about the fallen angels coming down, gets into the book of Enoch, the Dead Sea Scrolls, this whole thing, fallen angels, mixing of the seed, Genesis 6, which leads to everything. So after I was done the Nephilim trilogy, and I'll never forget this, and I had just written Politics, Prophecy, and the Supernatural, my first nonfiction. And we got to get that book back in print, but I digress. And I was going to a conference in Ohio, and Russ Dizdar goes, hey, LA, you know where you're going? I go, yeah, Russ, I'm going to Ohio. And he starts laughing. And you had to know Russ. When he laughed like that, he knew something that you didn't. And we were battle buddies. We were at 90 conferences together. We stayed at his house. We slept over. I miss him. He was a really close friend and confidant. And he goes, are you by your computer? I go, yeah. And he goes, look up Fallen Angels in the Ohio Valley, the Nephilim Chronicles. I go, what? He goes, Fritz Zimmerman, Fallen Angels in the Ohio Valley, the Nephilim Chronicles. And there it is. I order it immediately. I've got a 5-hour plane ride to Ohio the next day. So I get the PDF. I order the hard copy too, but I'm reading the PDF on the plane. I basically read the whole thing in one sitting. So now we're at the conference. I'm with my driver taking me from the hotel to the conference. And I go, hey, have you ever heard about this great circle mound? Are we near it? He goes, yeah, we've been going by it. I go, you're kidding me. He goes, no, right up here, about a mile. It's on the right-hand side. Sure enough, we passed by. There's the sign, Newark Earthworks. I go, look, I got free time tomorrow. It's Sunday. Drop me off. He goes, sure. Next day, around 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, he drops me off. I say, give me a couple hours here. I'll see you back in the parking lot. Said, nobody there. John, there's nobody there. Parking lot's empty. I walk up the 4-foot wide asphalt path, which takes you to the site. To the left of me is this huge berm of dirt. I recognize it as the side of the circle mound. And I get up to the top. I look to the right. There's this little small museum. It's closed. I look to the left and I begin to walk in to the gate of the Great Circle Mound. And this thing is huge. It's like, I think it's 1,200 feet in diameter. It's huge. And by the way, the earth is been there for thousands of years, stacked up, and it doesn't erode. How does that work? But I digress. So here's the deal. I walk up to the gateway, and at this point, I'm hyperventilating. I'm like, and I'm frozen in the gateway. and my eyes are darting around like this. And I realize I am looking at the rest of my life. The Lord showed me that. I realize that I'm looking at the rest of my life. And then the whole thing with the UFO phenomena and on the trail of a Nephilim, they basically come together. And that's why it's all from the same source. And that led to the On the Trail of a Nephilim series. There's 8 films there. There's 10 films, like I showed you, with the whole UFO phenomena. We're working on the Trail number 9, The Shroud of Turin. I just don't stop. This is the latest book. This is number 14, Rungs of Disclosure, where we talk about the revealing of the so-called extraterrestrial presence in the end times. I just finished my 15th book, which we sent up to Charisma Publishing House. That's our publisher. Even though I publish a lot of the stuff myself, we went with Charisma on this. It's the first novel in 20 years, so it's a real shift. But the Lord redirected my steps, and that's what I just finished it. It just got mailed up to Charisma. So there are sites that I want to go to, desperately want to go to, and will, but I'm waiting for marching orders at this point.
Very cool, man. Yeah, I haven't done as much travel as you. I just got back from Lebanon. I guess it was almost over a year ago, maybe. And that was really neat to be able to see some of those sites and go kind of underneath the earth there in Belbeck and all these areas and see those things. And of course, I live in the Ohio Valley area. And so I see a lot of these things every day as I'm driving, or just if I go visit friends in Kentucky, they're everywhere. And there's something about when you see those things and experience them, there's a curiosity, at least there was for me. That's something that really drove me to when I started first reading the Bible, and I got to Genesis 6, and I was just, wow, there's something here that I've really just never seen before. I can't believe I've never seen it, but it makes sense because every other culture in the world speaks about this kind of stuff happening. And the Nephilim, for listeners that may not know what that is, in Genesis 6, it kind of explains this process of how they were created. But my next question for you is, in this process of looking and going on these trails, I would imagine, just like, especially after you put out your first book, people contacted you and started telling you about different things and many different rabbit trails and places like that. In order for you to create these kind of films, people don't understand the process of this kind of stuff. How many places are you going? How many rabbit trails are you going that don't do anything? And tell me about the craziest one that you've experienced.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of rabbit trails. We've been, there's a mountain on our property, and we went there and we looked at it, and there's nothing there. We dug down. There was a recent excavation that I wasn't part of, but I did fund it in part. Allegedly, there was a Sasquatch that was buried. A bunch of hunters shot this thing, and it was buried on a farm. So we went there, and I didn't go, but this other team went, and they dug down with a backhoe. There's nothing there. So I've learned, if the Lord tells me to go, like with Fatima, he said, give me one word, Fatima, 2017. It was the 100th year anniversary of the Fatima apparitions. And we went over there, and everything was just given to us. We met with the creme de la creme of people who do not believe in the Catholic version of the events of Fatima. They just don't. And I've gone toe to toe with some of these guys. And, I say, well, what about the fourth witness? What do you mean the fourth witness? They've never done the deep dive like we have. And that's why we have 2 films on it. This was not Mary of the Bible, in my opinion.
So what do you think? What do you think it was?
The UFO event. This has been going on forever. The goddess Mora was the ancient goddess of Portugal, and she would appear as a beautiful woman. She would seduce the men. The men would have her way, have their way with her, and then she would turn into a serpent and devour them. And that goddess,
it's not a good date at all, is what that is.
Day. And that goddess has never been deposed in Portugal. That's the goddess, which is still worshipped, by the way. There are still serpent cults in the northern part of Portugal. So, Catholic Church, can say what they want. You've got the fourth witness. You've got the ancient goddess worship. You've got the 3 people the kids who saw this thing. And it was a lady. She never said, I'm Mary. She never said, I'm from heaven. She said, I'm from the sky. This is all in the handwritten documents. This is why we made 2 films on it. It goes against the narrative. Look, if it was Mary of the Bible, great, but it wasn't Mary of the Bible. And when this thing flew over the crowd, we call it the flyby. It was a UFO event. People, how many people, men of letters, look up and they say this? I looked up and saw what? I looked up and saw a dull silver disc. Well, that's what they saw. I look up and saw a dull silver disc. I mean, how many times do we have to hear that? That's not Mary of the Bible. That's a dull silver disc. Mm. You know, the apparition wore a skirt right below the knees. Women in 1917 had dresses. We've got the pictures all the way down to the tops of their shoes. I mean, to think that prostitutes didn't look like that. Mary of the Bible showing up with a skirt that goes below her, right below her knee. I'm not buying that for a second. You know, so I mean, people can believe what they want to believe. I'm not going to disparage anyone's belief, but I did a deep dive on it. We did 2 films on it. It's not Mary of the Bible. All these, there was another apparition recently in the sky. Here we go, you know, and it looks like, you know, something is there. And everybody's going, oh, hallelujah. No one's rebuking first and asking questions later. You don't know what you're looking at. It's an image in the sky. How do you know that's from God? Oh, wait, you don't. Why aren't you rebuking in Jesus' name? Because you don't know what you're looking at. It's an image. It's a cloud. It's huge. And it looks like, you know, a figure, a biblical figure. But you don't know what it is. I'll tell you another story. In Conyers, Georgia, there was an apparition site in Conyers, Georgia, where Mary of the Bible was appearing, okay? So this woman calls me up, and she at the time and her fiancé at the time, they're married, so they're shoulder to shoulder, standing in the field looking up at the apparition. She sees a religious figure. He sees a UFO. Now, how is that possible? How is that possible? They're both looking at the same phenomena. She sees one thing, he sees something else. So, you know, whenever we're dealing with the supernatural, we're called to test the spirits. In other words, rebuke first, ask questions later. Test the spirits, because we don't know what the heck we're looking at, and we're ill-equipped to deal with the other side. I mean, that's why when an angel appears, everybody does a face plant. Daniel, and the angel, oh, sorry, Dan. It's like, boom, I fell on my face. In modern day vernacular, that's a face plant. So Daniel does a face plant, and the angel goes over and tries to comfort him. Now he's on all fours like a dog, and angel touches him 2 or 3 times. He finally stands up, and they're able to talk. I mean, this stuff is like, you know, it's not what we think it is. It's not, and the churches, of course, never talk about it for the most part.
Yeah, they're disinterested in the supernatural in general. So the Skinwalker Ranch phenomena that's going on, where do you rank that in terms of UFOs, weird stuff that's going on? And I'll just I know that you probably watched all the series, but I was, when I met Thomas Winterton, he's the guy that's kind of the groundskeeper, the keeper of Skinwalker Ranch. He's right on the show. He's the guy that got beamed in the head with the directed energy in the first season. And I asked him if is this spiritual? Is this physical? And he said it's both. In his opinion, it's both. He said there's no way to really fully wrap his head around what they're seeing. And it's almost, they feel like it's multidimensional or something along those lines. What is your take on that? Because I've heard so many different opinions. I've heard, you know, all these people that are even, you know, different amongst different Christians, there's different opinions on what these things actually are. But I'd love to hear your opinion and actually what you think they might be dealing with at Skinwalker Ranch.
Well, it's a portal, it's a gateway, and it's open. Native Americans knew about it. They avoided the place. That's why you have the backward spiral, the counterclockwise spiral, as opposed to the clockwise spiral. It means don't go here. You got trouble. Native Americans never went there because they knew it was a gateway. It's a portal. Stuff is coming in, stuff is coming out. That's why it's high strangeness. That's why it's both physical, supernatural. Somebody's going to get killed. There's no doubt in my mind. Somebody's going to die because they don't know what they're dealing with. And some of these people on the show are incredibly arrogant. They really are. They're really arrogant. They think that, we're talking about my scientific instruments, blah, blah, blah. Let me tell you something. You come up against something like that and you'll be terrified. If something manifests and you see it, you'll be terrified, absolutely terrified. You won't even know what to do. You'll have no clue. you'll be on your knees crying like a baby.
Yeah. Yeah. Thomas, I haven't met the other guys. Thomas was a very humble dude. It seemed like he was actually one of the nicer guys I've ever met in my life, and he was very humble about it. I mean, he definitely wasn't saying like, I'm going to spend my vacation there or anything along those lines. I know that for a fact, but the other guys, I know what you're saying about that. I've never met any of the other guys at all, and I haven't watched all of the series, but bullet points, like one of the things that struck me as odd is, these portals, these places like Sedona and places like this, there's a lot of crystals involved. What is it about crystals, man, and technology? I don't know if you've seen the video where they have the phone chip, the microchip from the phone, and they zoom in, they keep zooming in, zooming in, zooming in, zooming in, and it's just like highways of these meticulous little chips that just keep on going deeper and deeper into it, and it's made with all silicone and crystals. What is it about crystals and demonic activity and technology that goes together? Have you ever, I'm sure you've done research on this, I know you have, but what is it about these places and that kind of makeup of the areas? Because I don't know that they found that in Skinwalker Ranch or not, but places like Sedona, according to people I've talked to, you can find quartz pretty regularly over there.
Well, a lot of the ancient sites are also there's quartz embedded in the stone, like andesite, like granite, that have piezoelectric properties. So the ancients, and I'm not talking about ancient men, I'm talking about the fallen ones, knew how to harness this stuff. We were talking about, I did a show today on my show about the Great Pyramid and all the research people, what the two scientists are. In fact, July 27th, there's going to be a virtual conference, so you can sign up for that. They had satellites over the Giza Plateau, and these spiral columns go down 2,100 feet. That's unbelievable. And there's this whole network of tunnels and labyrinths under the Giza Plateau. What are we looking at? It's fallen angel technology. It's Nephilim architecture. All of it. The circles in the Newark Circle Mound, the Octagon Mound. These are all Nephilim architecture, fallen angel technology. And you talk to a modern day archaeologist, Native Americans built this with deer antlers and digging sticks and birch bark baskets, and it's like, you're not buying this. Native American oral tradition says we didn't do any of this. So they're backpedaling now. Some of the leaders of the tribe, but we talked to Chief Joseph Riverwind, the Tiana war chief. By the way, he's over in Israel right now, and he's on the record. He's been on the record in the On Betrayal series, but he's also in number 9. And he just said, we didn't do this. It was here when we got here. How many times do we have to hear this? But if you say that, then you're a racist. Meanwhile, the mainstream archaeologists, the standard, status quo for them would be, the Native Americans built them. They just forgot that they had done so. But that's not what the Native American oral tradition, which is sacrosanct to all the tribes, talk about. We didn't do this. Sure, when we got here. And so we've actually had quotes, I won't disparage anyone, from chiefs of tribes stating on the record, we didn't do it. It was here when we got here. So what's the truth? What's the truth?
Well, what happened to them, in your opinion? Where'd they go?
Well, this is a whole adventure, which I have, I'm just waiting for marching orders, John. The Lord has kind of had his focus on the Daily Show, on the YouTube show. And the reason for this is, we go, and I'm not sidestepping the question. I'll get there in a second. We have 10,000, 30,000, 50,000 views for one show. I fly, takes 4 or 5 days. I'm on the road. Let's say I leave on Thursday, speak Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, right? So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, come back Monday. That's 5 days. I'm gone. So I got to make up the shows. I never get a day off. I speak to 300 to 500 people. Meanwhile, our YouTube show is getting 5, 10, 15, 30,000 views. So it makes no sense. The Lord showed me that. So we basically bowed out of 14, 15 conferences this year alone. and we're redirecting our steps. I'm waiting for marching orders, and I probably won't get them till we get this next film done, because the Lord's going, your plate is full and you want to go out and do more? Your plate, deal with what you got here. Eat what's on your plate first, then we'll do something. So I'm trying to be patient. Every site I have ever been to, every site has the same story. Whether you're in Gilgal Raphaim, whether you're in Israel, whether you're in Menga, Spain, whether you're in Karnak, France, Stonehenge, England, Silbury Hill, Avebury in England. I mean, all that, all the way down to Peru, the 5,000-year-old pyramids at Corral, Peru, Sacsayhuaman in Cusco, Teotihuacan in Mexico, Chaco Canyon, the mysterious America Stonehenge, and all the earthworks. So I've been to all those places I just mentioned. They all have the same underlying theme. Everyone just vanishes.
Mm.
They just disappear. And the standard line is they assimilated into the indigenous population, but there's no oral tradition from any of the indigenous people that that's what happened, which leads me into a whole other idea, which I have not voiced publicly and I won't, but that's all I'll say.
Well, let's speculate on it then. Speculate. Give me 2 or 3 options, because I mean, we can always think of an option or two of what happened to these people. Where did the people that had the technology go? I mean, you read stories that go back about these people who came and helped, and they started the society, taught people how to do things, and then they retreated from society. What are those things in your opinion?
Well, a lot of it is fallen angel technology, Nephilim architecture. There's no doubt about that. There may be also, combined with that, some of the good guys coming down. But for the most part, it's the fallen ones, and they want to be worshipped as gods. And so they are. You know, they come down, they show technology, they show knowledge. The people didn't have it. They begin. I mean, when you look at Chichen Itza. Now, I've never been there, and frankly, I don't want to go. In the Yucatan, when you go there, or you go to a place that I have been, Teotihuacan in Mexico, it's the largest pyramid on the planet. Not the highest, but the base is larger than the Great Pyramid of Egypt in Giza. So they don't know who built them, John. They call them the Teotihuacanos. And there's the typical parroting. Well, we don't know what happened to these people, but we think they assimilated into the indigenous population. It's just the same, we're just parroting what somebody told you to say. When you go there, and I've only been there once, and I'd love to go back, but Mexico is Mexico, right? And who knows? But when I just sat there and looked at this thing, and I was stupefied. I just looked at it and just went, you have got to be kidding me. You have got to be, because there's no pre-existing culture, just like Corral, which is the oldest city in Peru. There's no pre-existing culture. It just rises up out of nowhere. There's nobody going, we're going to make a pyramid, but we're not sure why the Southern accent that way. But anyway, So we're going to make ourselves a pyramid, boys, but we're not sure what a pyramid is. So first we're going to go to this drawing board and sketch it up, and then we're going to practice and make a few smaller ones. It's not there. It's just there.
That was a good accent. I liked it. That was good. I would have never thought that was L.A. Marzulli doing that accent, but that was good. Yeah. So my question then, I guess I have a million different ways I could go with this, but where'd they go? Where did the masters of where did they go? Why are they back? I mean, we've got technology again. Are they back right now? Is that how we got this crazy technology? And mind you, I used to do tool and die, and so we made precision. I'm talking precision, like within 0.003 of an inch and less. I mean, less than that. Like a piece of paper thick this way is 0.003 of an inch, and we went way smaller than that in our precision. We had to go small and tiny. Everything had to be precision. And there's no way in my mind I could even picture how they're making these microchips. Are they back, or are we just way smarter now? What is going on here?
Well, we're in the last of the last days, in my opinion. He's got to come back soon, because No flesh would survive. The days of Noah were here. When Jesus warns the people 2,000 years ago, hey, guess what? It's when I return, which is an absurd statement to make. What do you mean? Where are you going, pal? Right? It's like, what do you mean when you return? When I return, it'll be like the days of Noah. When Son of Man returns, it'll be like the days of Noah. Well, what does that mean? Everybody knows what he's talking about 2,000 years ago. There is no Sethite theory 2,000 years ago, which is that the godly line of Seth married the hoochie mamas of Cain and created the Nephilim. Nonsense. That's created because, again, you get the whole crew with Augustine and all these guys. Oh, it's woo, 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 woo. We're not going there. Too much supernatural. This is all, allegory. It's not really what it says. Don't look at it literal because you'll get in trouble. I'm a biblical literalist. I believe every word. Now, obviously, when it says, I will mount up on eagle's wings, I'm not sprouting wings and flying up. I get that. But when it says Jesus is going to be born in Bethlehem, guess what? That's literal. When it says it'll be like the days of Noah when Jesus returns, that's literal, which immediately begs the question, what differentiates the days of Noah? Mixing of the seed, which is exactly what we see in the abduction phenomena. We have a whole film in our 10-box DVD set. I also talk about it's one of the rungs. There's a 10-box DVD set. There's rungs of disclosure. I mean, folks, I've got 45 minutes here. There's 34 films and 14 books. I mean, there's a corpus of work. And you need to do your homework because you're not going to get it all here. You're just not. We're going to scratch the surface. But the bottom line is, we are in the days of Noah. And we are ramping up to the time of Jacob's trouble, which deals with the nation of Israel. It's not Bob, Fred, and Ernie. It's the time of Jacob, the 7-year period. The Israelites have been gathered back. The Jews have been gathered back into their ancient, Romans 9, 14 and 15. So for all you anti-Semites, replacement theology people, and Israel has no place, and the church it gets all the blessings of Israel, and it doesn't matter, then deal with this. Okay, Amos 9, 14 and 15. I will bring back the captives of my people Israel. Check. They will build the waste cities and inhabit them. Check. They will plant vineyards and drink the wine from them. I've been to Israel. Check. They will also plant gardens and eat the fruit from them. Check. Here's the kicker. I will plant them in their land, and never again will they be plucked up out of the land I have given them, says the Lord your God. So if the Jews are moved out of Israel, then we have a real problem because God's a liar. But that's not what we're looking at.
What do you think about the people who are, I don't know if you've heard this even yet, because it's very new doctrine. I've never heard of it before. I was kind of researching it myself to see where it came from, but the idea of being in Satan's little season. Have you heard that before?
My gosh, total nonsense.
Have you heard anybody?
Yes,
Okay. I didn't know because we have a lot of people that
they're saying that we've already gone through the millennial kingdom and we're in Satan's little season. No. You're clueless, pal. With all due respect, anyone who holds on to that, you have no idea what you're looking at. God's prophetic clock is the nation of Israel. 1948, May 14th, 1948, when they're regathered there and they declare their statehood, that scripture, Amos 9, 14 and 15, was read in every single synagogue on the planet. Coincidence? I will plant them in their land, and never again will they be plucked up out of the land I have given them, said the Lord your God. These are the remnants of the Jews. They're here, and they're not going away. They're not going away. This is God's prophetic time clock. So several weeks ago, they took one of the red heifers, which had 2 black hairs, so it's not qualified for sacrifice, and they did a mock-up to make sure they could do everything. So they sacrificed the red heifer, they burned the ashes, did the whole thing, okay? At the same time, the 4 cornerstones of the temple are cut. They're already there. So they're going to rebuild the temple. And the outer court will still be given over to the Gentiles, which is exactly what Scripture tells us. It's a literal third temple. We are not the temple. We are the temple of the Holy Spirit, but we're not the temple that the Jews are going to rebuild. See what I mean? When you get into replacement theology, you're completely confused. If Israel is not God's timepiece, then what are they doing there? And then when it says they will look on him whom they have pierced and mourn for him as an only son. Well, what does that mean? Who are they? Where does Jesus land when he comes back? He lands on the Mount of Olives. That's right outside the city. every eye will see him because the Mount of Olives is a high place. So the white horse comes down, the armies of heaven. Are we just still in the air watching all this? I don't know. Do we land with them? I don't know. My personal opinion, this is conjecture, Battle of Armageddon happens, we make this ring, this multi-decked ring, and we're hovering in the air on flying white horses. Don't ask me how that works. Jesus lands on the Mount of Olives. That thing split in half. They, the Jewish remnant, the Jewish people, look on him whom they have pierced. Who is they? Who did they pierce? It's Jesus. It's nobody else. And mourn for him as an only son, because they will realize that he was their Messiah and they missed it. It is the most cosmic moment, other than the resurrection, in all of history. It's cosmic beyond anything, because we're there in resurrected bodies, because we've already gone up in the rapture. We're there on flying white horses, the Battle of Armageddon. He destroys them by the breath of his mouth. He just stops holding them together. He just goes, we're not lopping heads off like Lord of the Rings and orcs. We're not doing that. We watch him just stop holding them together, because we know from Colossians that he holds all things together, and he just stops it, and they bleed out. That's why you get the blood up to the horse's bridle, because they just go, and they're done. He stops holding them together. We're in glorified, immortal bodies. I mean, it's like a science fiction movie. I will tell you this, John. 45 years ago, I'm a brand new Christian. I had never read the book of Revelation. I'm getting ready to go to bed. I'm in my bed getting ready to go to sleep. I am taken. In the body or out of the body, I am taken. It's not a vision. I know what those are. Not a vision. I am literally taken into the future. Don't ask me how that works. I am seated, second one. I am seated on a white horse, and we are flying through the air. And I am holding on to the horse's mane. No bridle, no saddle. I have the overwhelming feeling that this horse can communicate with me. He doesn't do that. But I knew that the horse, and I also knew instinctively that horse would never let me fall off. Second one, that's second one. Second two, I look to my left. The rider on the white horse is to my left and way in the distance. And the armies of heaven are stacked up like floors of an apartment building, and we're in a horseshoe shape. Every eye can see him. Every horse is staggered. So every eye in that huge army can see the rider on the white horse, and we are flying down. So I'm second one, second two, second three. I look up. I'm on the right flank, about halfway up, on the right flank, about 8 rows back. The guys in the front, John, are really big. 12-footers, 10-footers. You don't want to mess with them at all. I was there for 3 seconds, and I had no idea where I was. And I told my pastor, because I was in counseling at the time, brand new Christian, coming out of the occult. And no, I wasn't on anything. And Pastor Fred goes, have you ever read this? And he turns to Revelation 19. The armies of heaven rode with him on white horses, dressed in fine linen, white and clean. And I just, right? Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to deny when you have those experiences. It's hard for the person to deny. And I know that there's going to be a lot of people, because we have people, listeners, that believe wide varieties of things, LA. And I like that about them, because I really do want to reach a lot of group of people. I don't want to be, kind of sectioned off into one group of people, because I believe that really, in my opinion, this is not shared by every peer that I have, but in my opinion, I think that if people agree on the gospel, that it's of Jesus and that it's his blood that saves us, and that
Amen.
That's what it is, the foundation of that, him dying and being risen again, that's what I really kind of hold firm to. But I do love hearing other people's opinions of things and why they come to those opinions, because
Sure.
I will never say that I know everything, because I know that that's not true.
Yeah,
I've
like,
had to eat crow many, many times. Okay, I've done it a couple times publicly, and I'm cool with it. I just would rather not be like too definitive on these things. But I definitely love to hear people's opinions on those topics, man. It's one of those things that I'm deeply interested in. How can you not be interested in the prophetic revelations of the scripture? I mean, they're just so profound, sometimes symbolic, sometimes, whatever, but it's just amazing. And I know that you've been talking about those things for a while. I've seen you do broadcasts on many different prophecy forums such as Skywatch TV, and you were doing with Russ Dizdar. I used to listen to you guys in my headphones as I was doing Tool and Die when I was a kid, before I had kids of my own, basically. I wouldn't say I was a kid, but in my mind, I probably was a kid, So all of these things you talk about prophetically, and I just want to, I know we only got like 10 more minutes here. I want to hear about, I know they say never talk about politics, but I want to hear how all of your worldview plays in with your view of politics and what's going on. And obviously I know that we're watching what they want us to see. We're seeing what they want us to see. We can't know all the inner workings. It would be stupid if they told us everything that they were going to do. But when you see what's going on in the world, I'm just going to give a few examples. We have crypto making a rise. We have mass surveillance with things like Palantir. We have also a kind of revolution within our own capital. We have Donald Trump, who is actually appointing all his new people. This is a thing that he wanted to pass last time, and not a lot of people talked about it, but a few days ago that thing passed, and now he can fire the employees and hire whoever he wants, and doesn't have to get approval. And so this is going to change the fabric of everything. We have AI. 2025 has been a crazy, crazy year. How does all this prophecy play into 2025? Does it play in it at all? I'd like to hear your theories, and I'm not asking you to, say this date is when it's going to happen. Just your theories. I'd love to hear them.
Well, I think we're close. I think with AI, we've crossed the Rubicon. We've crossed the line where you can't put the genie back in the bottle. We no longer can tell what's real or what's fabricated. You can't tell. So how can you be accountable to anything? How do you know what you're looking at? Anybody can say anything and create an AI version of it, and you're going like, oh my gosh, what do I do with this, right? And that's really problematic.
It's a disinfo age, man. It's scary for sure. It's very problematic. I just did a broadcast last night about how problematic it is.
I mean, it is. And then you look at Israel. They're surrounded by those who pose an existential threat to her. A couple of weeks ago, 5 sheikhs in Judea and Samaria basically extended an olive branch to Israel, saying, hey, we've tried this other thing. It doesn't work. You guys are prosperous. We want to come in on this prosperity. So when you look at the Ezekiel 38-39 war, thank you, Chuck Missler, there's not an Arab in the bunch. I'm quoting Chuck. There's not an Arab in the bunch, not one. So the Arabs somehow, Israel's dwelling in a false peace because they've made peace with their neighbors, and the Arabs are going like the Jordanians and the Egyptians. It's cool. But then you've got Gog, which is Russia, and you've got Turkey and Iran. Turkey knows that there's no way it can go up against Israel. They have no air force to speak of. The Iranians really have no air force to speak of. The Russians do, but it's antiquated. So what they're going to think is like, this is the hook in the jaw. God puts a hook in the jaw and redirects Russia. They don't want to do this. That's that hook in the jaw. They really don't want to get involved in this, but they do. That's why if you come and take spoil, the young lions, we're not involved in this. And Israel stands alone. And then the God of Israel shows up. And that's when Israel realizes that, oh my gosh, he's still here. Because there's a lot of secular Jews. Mm-hmm. The question is it before the tribulation? In my opinion, it could be. It might be. It could be, during a tribulation. It could kick off the tribulation. There's a lot of different positions and viewpoints. But it's going to happen. There's a saying I came up with: what was written will come to pass. What was foretold is unfolding. And I mean, who would have imagined Assad, president of Assad of Syria, would be deposed? 8 months ago or whatever? I mean, nobody saw that coming. All of a sudden, he flees for his life. And now, the whole thing with the Druze and everything else. I mean, and then Turkey is saber rattling. What's Israel trying to do here? And the Iranians just got their butts kicked. So they know that they can't go alone. They know it. Turkey knows that if it goes up against Israel, they're going to get their butts kicked. The Iranians know because they just got their butts kicked. But what happens if they come together? with Russia and the other nations. And that's what I think we're looking at. We are watching that form right in front of our eyes.
Thanks so much, LA, for coming on this broadcast. I know that who knows what the future holds. I know that I'm very interested in making things happen with a lot of people, especially people that are filmmakers in the Christian industry. This is something that is a passion of mine as well. I haven't done actual filmmaking. I've been doing more podcasts, but I love that people are doing it. I love to be able to support it in any way I can. So I'm grateful to have you on, LA, and I know we'll talk again soon.
Absolutely.
Let people know where they can find your stuff. Obviously, there's going to be a link in the description, but on YouTube, where can they find your YouTube channel? Let us know.
It's just lamarzulli.com, lamarzulli.com. YouTube is just LA Marzulli. We've got, I think it's up around 246,000 subscribers. We do a show every day. There's a show every single day. So we're really focusing on the YouTube channel. A lot of different guests from all walks, all different paradigms. It's just so, I had a woman this morning. I interviewed her for well over an hour, which is rare. And she has been to Egypt numerous times, New Ager, and, been out of the whole deal. And we had a great conversation. And so little different paradigms, but we're talking about the same type of stuff. So it's LA Marzulli on YouTube and lamarzulli.com. 34 films, 14 books. Do your homework.
Thanks a lot, guys. Hit subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification, check out the links below, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you.